we got questions, and then obviously chat's going to be asking some. We always kind of start off this thing the same way. And I guess my first question is, how do you guys feel like this season went for you?
첫 번째 지난 시즌 어땠는지.
안 좋았죠.
He says it was bad.
Said this season was bad?
Well, it was it wasn't.
그래프는 우리가 원하는 대로.
Okay, so he says it wasn't, it wasn't good in terms of like the user graph, how it looks in terms of the grade.
Mhm.
It came out how expected, so better.
근데 이제 플레이어들이 원하는 거는 많이 못 맞춰주는 시즌이었어요. 제가 생각할 때.
Yeah. Expectations, it was a miss.
Yeah, it was a miss. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. 어떻게 이제 유저들 원하는 거를 어떤 거 위해서 이제 우리가 기대한 걸 못한 거가 그러니까 왜 안 좋은지.
우리가 감정 리커버리도 없애고 약간 그 플레이어가 좀 뭐라고 해야 되죠? 어떻게 설명하는 게 좋을지.
Hey, camera works. Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chad, is that better in volume? Is that better for them?
So
그래서 뭐 캐주얼 플레이어도 하드코어 플레이어도
Good.
뭐 이렇게 구분하는 게 좀 이상하긴 하지만
yeah.
그러니까 다 각자 좀 만족하지 못한 시즌, 뭐 불만들이 좀 많이 있었어요.
So in terms of like the balancing, and then in terms of like the systems that support like hardcore players or the more casual players, is that it wasn't made to satisfy either. So I think there was a lot of criticisms on both sides.
네, 그리고 우리는 이제 게더링 홀이라든지 딜레이된 피처도 되게 많았고.
Yeah, and then the other thing was like there's big features that was supposed to come out that are delayed. So in terms of that, it's like it was disappointing.
Okay. How do you guys feel like the HR water map went?
I don't know.
전 좋아요 개인적으로.
So that's
그거를
okay.
조금 강제로 하게 하는 건 되게 안 좋아. 랜덤 옛날에 우리가 했었던.
Random.
그러니까 HR이 랜덤이었을 때 이제 워터맵을 뭐 무조건 해야 된다 이렇게 하는 게 되게 안 좋았을 뿐.
Okay, so he's there's two. So personally, he likes the roller water map. He does say that when making high roller be just random maps, that was a mistake. So which was rectified later on, where you were able to actually select the maps.
Right.
And so
yeah, I think that was received a lot better.
Yeah.
Okay. SDF mentioned a while ago that you guys felt like your development process was rushed, which made it hard to implement things because of rushed coding. Is that something you guys feel like you've made progress on? Or is that still like a goal that you're working to try and fix?
우리가 테크니컬 뎁 엄청 높잖아요. 프로그래밍 엄청 빨리 만들었으니까요.
네.
그래서 그것 때문에 이제 문제 많았니까요.
엄청 많죠. 그래서
우리가 그거를 이제 조금 해결했는지 뭐 좋아졌는지.
좋아지고 있죠. 좋아지고 있고.
So he's saying, yeah, it is improving.
네, 근데 이제 원하는 정도는 아니고. 아직.
But not up to the quality that
그러니까 예를 들면
he wants. Yeah. So for example,
우리가 퀴버를 여태까지 못한 거는 정확하게는 안 한 거지만
So he's going to go into the specific example of the quiver right now. Is one of the this ties into that technical debt.
네, 지금은 인벤토리 시스템이 우리가 1년 걸쳐서 리팩토링 했는데도 그냥 제가 볼 때는 페일 됐어요. 그래서 에디셔널 백팩 이런 걸 만드는 게 지금 거의 쉽지 않은 상태고.
So for example, this is like a specific example, is that we had the inventory guy. He worked on refactoring just the inventory system itself because it is really complex, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was supposed to improve the efficiency and make it more flexible for us. But the overall, the actual scorecard after using it now and trying to get new features implemented into it, integrated into it, is that, oh, that was a fail, right? And so things like this is, hey, there was a year investment into this. It didn't get us, it didn't move us forward. And so it actually hindered us in doing things that we wanted, like expanding out, because, okay, there was assumptions about like, this system will make it easier, make it quicker. So there's all these things that are very kind of tied in. I think.
그래서 예를 들면 이번에 뭐 우리가 바바리안한테 양손 무기를 양손에 들게 해주는 거 그런 걸 하고 싶었는데 이제 인벤토리 시스템 때문에 그걸 못했어요. 네.
So like more inventory. So we call it the inventory system. It's not just the inventory, right?
Yeah,
It's basically your player controller. So in the game engine, is you have your player controller and you have all your items and all that are attached to your player controller. So one of the things he's talking about, like this time, we're working on new perks and skills for the barbarian. He wanted to have like a two-handed bare hand kind of perk. But because of this, we hit that wall again with the, going back into the player. So the player controller inventory system, let's call it that, because it's that complex. And it went into this, it's like, oh man. So if you would think it'll be very simple. Hey, we could just remove these items and then, but there's all sorts of this side effects that are coming out because of this. I think another big side effects is that they call it like the legal ESP, right? And this is also has to tied in with the inventory system,
그래서 키버 같은 것들이 이제 잘 안 나오고 있었던 건데, 근데 이 시스템을 완전히 리팩토링 하려면 지금 이제 저희 팀에 에이스 분들이 붙어서 좀 봐야 돼서 몇 달 동안 봐야 돼서, 그러면 이제 다른 게 멈추니까 지금은 거기에 코스트를 못 쓰고 있었던 상태예요. 그래서 이번에는 그냥 플레이어들이 가장 너무 원하고 있으니까, 그리고 태님도 약속했었으니까 가장 쉬운 방식으로 하지만 효과 있는 방식으로 큐버는 만들었어요.
Are you talking about like the lag hitching when people come within range? When you said legal ESP?
Yeah, that's
okay.
That is, yeah, that's a direct link to the player inventory system. That's a side effect that comes out of that. So trying to fix all this is going back and going through this huge amount of code that that was invested in for 1 year, right? And taking all this apart. So the reason is, when we wanted to make the like even for the quiver, right, is like, oh, how do we make the quiver without having it have these knock-on effects that makes the legal ESP worse, all this stuff, right? So it basically comes down to, okay, we have to refactor again the inventory system, or find ways to kind of like hack our system. And we're trying to, it was basically like, oh, we're thinking the best way forward is, let's get our top guys to work just on redoing the inventory system. But if that happens, everything else comes to a standstill, right? So the recent decision is, okay, we're going to try to figure out how to rehack our system and just add things on and get more features out, even though it's pretty janky right now. So like the quiver system that's coming out this time is going to be just a simplified version on top of the current inventory system. So we were trying to use the quiver as, hey, this is our opportunity to go deep into the code and tear out and figure out and remake the inventory. But that's a huge
만족스럽진 않아요. 그거를 우리가 너무 하루 만에 키워드 만들었기 때문에 그거는 정말 원하지 않는 방식이었지만, 근데 그래도 플레이어들은 그거 원하고, 그리고 있으면 실제로 도움이 될 거니까.
So the quiver that goes in, so it was taking a long time. We were promised quiver, but then the reason on the tip of the iceberg is the quiver. But what we really wanted to do is go deep in and fix this entire inventory system. Right now, the quiver that's coming out is just we just added a little flag on top of the current iceberg, right? So he's saying is that he's not very satisfied with it, because that was not what he originally wanted to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is the inventory system coming along? Is that kind of like where we're at now, or are you saying it still needs a bunch more work?
그러니까 인벤토리 시스템은 지금 멈춰 있는 거죠.
멈춰 있죠.
Yeah,
네.
it's on hold. Yeah.
근데
Okay.
이제
So
우리가 담당 하고 푸시하면은 뭐 올해 안에는 그래도 좋은 결과 있지 않을까
so he's
만들어야 돼요. 네,
Yeah.
올해 안에는 정리해야 돼요.
it's on hold.
Okay.
It's not. Yeah.
빅 데트.
Yeah. So like you said, the original question is about the technical debt. You know, is it getting cleared up? So it's yes and no, right? So we're doing more of that investigation into it, and you know, so the other issue is that the person that actually made it is no longer here, right? So it's like we're trying to figure out what's going on under the hood too, right? So
Right.
yeah, so there are things like this that are critical systems that are, you know, heavily integrated that are on hold, and so but at the same time is the expectation is you want, you know, everyone wants new features, you know, toys to play with. It's like, okay, right now we're just delicately placing it on top of, you know, balancing these little rocks, playing Jenga again. So I think
is that like lag
mixed
hit?
bag.
Is that little like lag hiccup when players are coming into range? Is that also contributing to like the netcode issues that people experience sometimes with like the little delays trying to block arrows and people's swings and all that?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's pretty. It goes down to the core, right? It goes down to the server performance. It goes down to, and that's why we, you know, but this is just one of the really complex systems.
Right.
So
Okay.
so,
Is all right. Okay. So let's I guess shift a little bit toward like more game mechanics related stuff. How do you guys feel about like the current like game mode count, queue count? Like, is gear in the game the where you want it to be?
게임 모드가
네, 그거 그냥 뭐 태님 그냥 설명해주면 되겠다. 뭐 우리
기어는
큐 진짜 신경 안 써.
아,
우리 신경 안 써. 뭐 어느 정도 쓰지만
네.
우리가 생각하는 거는
너무
지금
많잖아요.
근데 지금 시점에서는 어느 정도 많을 수밖에 없다라고 우리는 결론을 내린 거예요. 그러니까 왜냐면 지금 현재 기어 갭이 우리가 게임 모드를 줄이기 위해서 다분히 노력했지만 다양하게 시도를 했고 정말 많은 노력을 했지만 현재 기어 갭에서 최소한 뭐 노멀 하이롤러 그리고 뭐 PVE까지 하면 뭐 이런 것들은 유지할 수밖에 없다. 그리고 솔로 듀오 튜도 유지할 수밖에 없다. 이렇게 결론을 냈기 때문에 어느 정도 많은 큐는 가지고 간다.
Yeah. Okay. So he's talking about
완전히 줄일 수 없다.
So the queue count. So the game mode queues is that we understand that there's too many, right? So and it's directly related to the gear gap. Yeah.
Okay.
At the same time, so they're doing work on, you know, kind of balance, I guess, rebalancing some of the gear gap, trying to reduce it a little bit, but at the same time, you know, the gear gap also has to do with like how good loot feels, right, and the loot progression, and so we have to be very careful about like not doing, hey, you know, this semi-white where it's like, okay, there's, you know, very little gear gap, but at the same time, it has, you know, huge detrimental effect on item progression feel. And so it's that balance of like, okay, having a wide enough gear gap, but being able to place it, you know, split it up with the game modes where you don't feel like, oh, this is an impossible task. I think that's somewhere we kind of failed this previous season, is that, you know, the gear gap, especially with some of the like we removed some of the things that you could do with the gem socketing. It made it so the time commitment to get the top end gear.
그래서 저는 이걸 설명해 주는 게 좋을 것 같아요. 우리가 이제 그 게이팅 시스템 만든 거랑
Yeah. Okay.
그리고 우리가 이제 이번 시즌에서 하고 싶은 어쨌든 기어 갭을 완전히 없애는 거는 아이템을 먹는 맛이 없어지니까 그건 좋은 게 아닌 거고 우리가 여태까지 많은 실험을 했잖아. 그래서 우리가 원하는 건 시즌 프로그레션이 있을 때 게임을 이제 시즌 동안에 좀 많이 했을 때 이 하방을 올려주는 형태로 쫓아갈 수 있게 만들어주는 게 우리가 하고 싶은 목표잖아요. 그러니까 그걸 좀 잘
Yeah. So basically it goes into, he wants to explain kind of the thinking behind the upcoming season. Some of the big changes are you're gonna see in the season 8, early access season 8 is, so because we think that, that kind of feeling of item progression, just overall progression, and then the jumps between the gear gaps and how they're connected with the mode is like, those are the things that we kind of fell on our face this last season. Is that's the stuff that we've been working on for this upcoming season, is to get that smooth out, make it feel like you have the right type of, you are feeling some kind of progress, and kind of help if you commit the time into the game, is you feel like, hey, you're making progress, and on the lower end of this, the gear power gap, is that investment in time is helping you keep up. And so that's the stuff that we've been working on. In terms of like the game modes too, is that yeah, you're right, it's there are too many, right? And I think even this last season we kind of try to expand even more modes, right? So one of the big things is that, like, he's gonna share like one of the, but so there is an effort to like try to reduce some of the game modes. So one of the things that, it was an experiment, it didn't work out well at all, was the high roller adventure mode. So that's going to be removed. It actually went out there. Our numbers, it was the worst amount of engagement ever.
Okay.
With any new game mode, it kept on going down. So it's just like like Squire to Heroes, when we put that out, it was like, it started kind of slow and it kept on going up, and now it's like a pretty substantial group.
Yeah, it's that's my favorite game mode. I love playing that game mode.
Yeah, so we took a look at it. It's like, oh, okay, where can we cut some of that? So that's kind of removed. And then also, I think he's sharing a screenshot. So this is kind of trying to guide people, get people to, make the maps and
I'll pull it up. You guys can keep talking. I'll pull it up.
Yeah, so to make the maps and the modes feel like you're making progression. So a lot of the stuff that it's going to be stuff that you're going to feel, done in the dungeon itself. Is like making the game feel like there's more POIs. It's kind of more bumpy in terms of like the tension and the, I think one of the things for our game is that we have a high level of tension for most of the overall map. At the same time, because of that, it's pretty homogeneous. So it's like you don't have really huge points of interest, right? Maybe like the boss and bosses. That's about it, right?
So you're looking at adding ranks for people to access maps, like certain maps?
So yeah, we're gonna lock behind. Okay, so if you look at it, it's basically the adventure rank.
Yeah, you're looking at locking it behind adventure ranks. Okay.
Yeah. So basically we're gonna make it so everyone could do the adventure rank. So even squires could do it up to a certain point. But the high rollers are still locked behind the legendary account. And then for the upper echelons of the adventure rank, you still have to go to the high rollers. But
우리 스크린샷을 보여줘야 돼요.
보여주고 있어.
보여주네. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And is this
Yeah,
going to be?
adventure
I'm guessing
campaign?
this is like a placeholder image. So is it going to be tiered? Like, are the maps going to be progressive, or is it all opening up at Apprentice 3?
So we have the ability to do it progressive, but I think this time we're just gonna test it out with all at Apprentice 3, where the normal high roller opens all up at Wanderer.
Okay. So does
and
that mean you're
like,
tiering this
the
too? So like in normal dungeons, you can get, like this says, you can get up AP up to Wanderer 1. Is it going to be the same
Yeah.
level of adventure point, like reward earnings that you could get in HR if you're running like normal mode? Is it the same point system regardless?
Yes, it's the same. We haven't, it's very. So if you're familiar with the current adventure rank, you're familiar with. It's going to feel pretty much the same, except now you could do it in the normal modes, right?
Okay.
로멀에서도 올릴 수 있다.
Yeah.
캡이 있을 뿐.
Does this mean that you're keeping
it's-
the PvE high roller stuff, or are you getting rid of it?
No, get rid.
Yeah, we're getting rid of the
Getting rid-
PvE high rollers.
PvE high rollers going
That
away.
had very low engagement, and engagement kept on dropping off.
Okay. I think I misheard you before. All right. Okay. Let me switch back. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so at the beginning of the season, you had this function that was surrounded with like queue times, meaning that you would hold a queue for people to get into a match, trying to see if it's going to fill up based on, like, I guess population factors on a certain server. Is that still going to be a thing that's on in the next season, or did you guys do away with that?
So that's something that we could control on our 그거 있었잖아요. 버킷 집어넣고 이렇게 하는 거.
네.
So that's something we could control on our end in real time. We could turn it off and on. So it has to do more with the player population and the flow. So I think when the player population is low, we have to turn it off. Otherwise, you're waiting for no reason, anyways, right? It's gonna be. So it's one of our tools to try to combat. If when there's a lot of people in the matchmaking pool, is to try to combat teaming, right? So it makes it harder for you to time, all going in together. So it's something that we could utilize anytime, but again, it's just going to be dependent upon how many players there are in the active player pool. So
Okay.
I mean, that's pretty much why we turned it off and on.
Okay. All right. So earlier, I guess yesterday for you guys, you mentioned in Vincent's chat that Goblin Recovery was changing. How is it changing?
Oh, pardon me. What is changing?
Goblin Recovery, the insurance.
Sorry.
Oh
yeah. So again, this goes back to trying to build up the baseline, right, through progression, right, through and so I think one of the things is we want to make it so, hey, even the Goblin Recovery is something that you can start investing your time into to build up your affinity, and you can start getting some type of security by doing the Goblin Quest, right? So it's basically we shut off the Goblin Recovery for what is it? The high roller and normal, right?
네, 이제 다 켤 거예요.
Yeah, but we're gonna turn it on, and then through the Goblin Quest, you could actually improve your odds of
returning rate.
the returning rate of items through the Goblin Recovery.
Okay. So the idea is to allow. Are you allowing for it in like all game modes?
Yes.
Okay. And then
So it's gonna be in all modes.
Yes.
Right now, it's only in the PvE, right?
right
So-
now it's only in PvE. Right. So you're gonna somebody goes into HR, I don't know, 100,000 gold kit, whatever. they can still get it back on insurance.
So they won't get the entire thing back, right? And
Right.
then the amount of the kit that they get back is based on how much affinity they have with the goblin.
So you have to build
Goblin
affinity with
merchant, right.
Goblin, and is it an RNG thing,
And then
or do you like pick which items you're gonna insure?
no, it's the RNG. It's a percentage, right? So right now we could easily set that right now already.
Okay.
The original goblin recovery.
Yeah, there was
based
always
on
a chance that you would
percentage.
lose stuff before when it
Yeah,
came
so
down to it.
you build it up is you improve, so you get more and more of your setback, right?
Right.
That's not taken.
So is there the possibility of getting the Goblin Merchant to 100%?
Sure. Sure.
Yeah, SDF thinks that you could eventually get it to 100%.
Okay.
왜냐면 이번 시즌은 어쨌든 서플라이를 우리가 충분히 주는 게 목표니까
Yeah.
그걸 통해서 변하는 걸 보고 싶은 거니까.
So this goes back to like supporting up the bottom end is that right now one of the kind of the key words for this upcoming season is to kind of induce a little bit of item inflation rather than gold inflation. So it's going to have a kind of deflationary effect on the gold. And I think that has to do with the minimum time commitment to compete at the very upper end.
Mhm.
So that's why we're trying to make it a little bit like when you do have these setbacks, have the setbacks be a little bit softer.
And is the void like like the bottomless pit and ice abyss and that kind of stuff, is that going to like provide goblin recovery, or is that still not going to send back items?
그러니까 떨어지면 보이 같은 거 하면 이제 거분 recovery 그거
그건 이제
해줄 거예요.
PVE에서는 해주고
Yeah, so
다른
we
데서는
we
해주면 안 되네.
specifically have it. So on PVE, it'll still recover, but on PvP, because we know that people.
I mean, guys will grieve
kind
on
of-
purpose for sure. Yeah.
So if you do that, it's 100% chance of you losing your items, right?
Okay.
So it's based on those kind of incentives. Yeah.
그래서 플레이어 서포트하는 거 이제 설명하고 있으니까 뭐 워크숍도 설명해주고 싶은지 아니면
Yeah. So 먼저 들어보고요.
오케이.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you have there's like this overarching meta, and you've already made I guess comments on this in Vincent's stream as well in the last 12 hours, talking about like how you're going to be modifying like an awful lot with like movement mechanics and the ratting and that kind of stuff. I guess we can just go down the list for stuff like druids and rogues ratting gear. How is that changing? Because we've been getting told, I guess, that it's changing, but we don't know how.
까마귀 로고도 많잖아요. 그러니까 주인님이 그 빈센에서
제가
말한
말한
거는
거는 크로우 플레이가 없어질 거라고 얘기한 게 아니라 그 immediately 할 수 있는 그래서 이제
so he's saying okay, so yeah, he says he didn't say that it's going to get rid of ratting play. What he was saying is
immediately shapeshift with shapeshift mastery.
yeah, so what he's saying is that one of the big things was with the
There will be no
with the druids is that he's getting rid of the immediate shapeshift.
그것도 없어질 거고
Yeah.
그다음에 타임 디스토션 그 소설어 거 있잖아요. 그 시간 왜곡 그것도 즉시 지원은 이제 없어질 거예요.
And then he's also getting rid of the
그리고
instant casting with the time distortion.
그리고
or sorcerer.
무한하게 체력을 채울 수 없을 거예요.
And there's going to be a big change to the warlock where they're not going to be able to infinitely have raise their health.
네, 그래서 이건 이제 우리 디자인 철학을 조금 바꾸고 있는.
So
he's
you mean
saying
they're
this is
limited
a-
on
a
healing?
shift. No, so 그 얘기해도 돼요. So yeah, so it's so basically warlocks, they're only going to be able to recover up to the recoverable health.
네, 그래서 워락은 이제 그냥 스펠만 쓰고 있을 때는 다 채울 수 있겠지만 피해를 입으면
Yeah, so
그거는 이제
as long as they don't take extra damage and the damage from their own spells, they could get that all back, right? But if they take external damage, then now the top limit is limited.
So any of
right?
the damage
So-
that they take themselves from their own spells will all be considered recoverable health. But if they get hit by
Yes.
anything, if they take damage from any outside source, they can only fill up to the top of the
Then that
recoverable
can be-
health bar from their own like healing ability.
Yes.
So you have to drink health pots.
Yes. So basically what he's saying is that now he has a new kind of philosophy for the class design, right? So the original was like, hey,
네, 좀 더 판타지가 있고
yeah,
뾰족하고 이런 것들을
he
이제
wanted to be very, very sharp, very, he wanted, he comes from wanting to build like a roguelike, right?
네,
And
그런
making,
Does that apply to
그거
life
자체로-
drain too?
그 life drain도 똑같아요.
그건 아니고
no,
life
he
drain
says,
자체를
yeah, he
쓰잖아요.
says life drain. You could that's a special,
Okay, so
Don't-
it's
don't
just
worry too
it's
much.
just torture mastery stuff.
Yeah, the torture
Yes,
mastery.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But going back to his change in thought of overall class design is that originally it was supposed to be like like a roguelike game. You can build these like superheroes, but because of the PvP aspects and then the negative effects that has on
네,
the other player
크랙이
is that,
나오니까.
and because there's a lot of cracks that are coming out and trying to patch each individual crack one by one, he's like, oh, okay, so he's kind of changed his overall thought process on class balance. Is like, okay, that kind of just going for these super builds
그래서 더
is
쉬운 밸런스로 가는 거고 그래서 어떤 사람들은 더 재밌을 거고 어떤 사람들은 이제 더 재미없을 거고 그냥 그렇게 될 거지만 뭐
Does that so does that mean that torture mastery is being changed so that it doesn't have as much of a health cost on the casting?
그거는 그러니까 torture mastery.
그건 그대로요. 네. 근데 거기는 이제 조절이 될 수 있어요. 앞으로.
So he says right now it's the same. These are things that he's willing to tweak.
네, 이번 시즌은 처음 시작하면 밸런스 그냥 난리 날 거예요. 그냥 아예 그냥
So he's saying
인생
that
그냥.
when the season starts, the balance of the classes is going to be crazy.
네,
Like,
누구보다 그 플레이 스타일도 다 바꿔야 되고요. 그냥 새로 적응해야 돼요.
so he's saying, everything is going to be up in the air. You're going to have to rethink about,
네, 왜냐면
what you knew before.
그러니까 우리 게임에 불필요하게 있었던 이제 잘하기 위해서 해야 되는 행동들 그런 것들이 이제 뉴 플레이어들이 왔을 때 그게 엔트리 배리어가 돼가지고 사람들 많이 막고 있기 때문에 그러니까 그런 이제 뭐 예를 들어 모든 액션에 다 점프를 해야 된다거나 뭐 백워드가 너무 느리다거나 뭐
So
이런
he's
것들은
saying
다
that there's
제가
other substantial changes that have been made to the, I guess, movement, player actions in the game to make it, just more, I guess, more easier to understand. So he's saying like, oh, okay, right now you have to always constantly jump to offset the movement slows from that we have on taking out items or
Right. And
weapons and
you
stuff.
mentioned something about jump spam not being as much of a thing anymore.
Yeah, so he's been working, really.
I'm feeling
deep into
50%
figuring
download
out,
game and try
okay,
it
how to
out again, and
reduce that,
50% can't be fucked until game is in such a good state
kind
that
of
I managed to
lowering
come back.
some of the negative effects of like the huge move penalties when you're moving backwards, and so he's working on a lot of stuff to make it just feel like it flows.
네, 뭐 예를 들면 그런 것들 있잖아요. 그러니까 무기를 더 빨리 넣기 위해서 유틸리티 아이템을 들고 다시 넣는 X를 눌러서
Yeah, and
그런-
so
그런
trying to
이제-
get rid of those kind of little if you know like those kind of
그런 트리키한
the
뭐
tricky
스킬들 그런 거는 이제 없어야 된다. 그런 게 많으면 뉴 플레이어들이 와서 적응하기가 되게 힘들고 그럼 우리 게임 플레이어 베이스가 늘어나기 힘든 거야.
Yeah, so he's trying to make it more, like your actions actually meet your expectations. Remove a lot of the, like the little tricks and stuff that only the super high end players really know. Like, oh, okay, when I'm switching out a weapon, is if I switch to a utility item and then switch, it actually reduces. It could save you that little, fraction of time, and reduce that move speed penalty and stuff like that. Is like those things add up, and for new players that's totally counterintuitive, right? And so trying to remove those kind of things, it's like, oh, okay, if I put it away, it's just put it away, take it out. I don't need to go through these kind of weird combinations to get that maximum optimal output, right? That doesn't really make sense. So those are the kind of things that he's worked on to. So that's why he's saying is like all the stuff that is the player movement, the player kind of combat feel. These kind of sticky. It feels kind of sticky, right? Sometimes like that's why you're jumping all the time, right? It's like as soon as if you're not doing that, it's like you feel like you're stuck in one place, right? And you're very
그게
vulnerable.
우리 게임의 아이덴티티이기도 했지만
So he's saying that is part of that identity, but at the same time, that brings this kind of huge entry barrier, and at the same time, it's counterintuitive, right? So trying to make it more like, oh, okay, if I want to get around this, the game itself is about positioning too. So it's super important. It's like, oh, okay, maintaining that kind of momentum and speed is like, oh, why do I have to learn all these kind of tricks to be able to get around that, right? And so making it feel like you can still have those tools to reposition, but at the same time, you're not, jump spamming, you're not, multi-juggling,
네. 그리고 이제 또 하나 이 무모트 메타를 보면서 가장 크게 해결하고 싶었던 거는 예를 들면 랜드마인 로그한테 처음에 이제 찔리기 시작했을 때 그냥 이제 죽어야 된다거나 이런 게 싫었고, 그다음에 뭐 가드를 하거나 공격을 하면 이제 어택 슬로우나 가드 디펜스 슬로우 때문에 너무 느려져서 플레이어 캐릭터가 그 다른 포텐셜을 다 잃어버리는 거, 포지셔닝이나 어보이드하거나 뭐 더 추가로 공격하거나 패리하거나 이런 거에서 되게 제한을 받는 그런 것들을 다 정리해서 약간 좀 더 스킬 익스프레션이 좀 더 가능하게 그렇게 만드는 게 지금 목표예요.
Yeah. So okay.
조금 어렵지만.
He's giving me a lot right now. So I'm trying to like condense it, but basically it's going down to like he really wanted to attack the movement meta, right? That head on. And so digging down into it is like, oh, okay, what's causing, why do people feel that the overwhelming need that, oh, I have to always max out my speed, right? Because it is essentially our game is a game about positioning, and having that kind of movement speed advantage makes huge impact, right? But then what are the things that are amplifying those kind of penalties, right? And so that's the things that he's been trying to address directly, right? So he's talking about like there's a bunch of those kind of penalties stuck onto all different types of actions, and so all of that has been adjusted. That's why he's saying it's like, hey, when you go in, all the previous balance that was based on the previous player character movement system is a lot of it that's going to be upturned, right? Because now you're gonna feel like you have a lot more freedom about like where I move, when you're parrying, when you're blocking. Yeah, it's like right now it's like, oh, you're in this like turtle mode, right? And you feel like sluggish, or when you're trying to parry, it's that you get very slowed down, and so it makes it like if you're against multiple adversaries and where you have to reposition, if you're doing this, it makes it very difficult. So we're giving you a little bit more freedom in that when you're in those kind of stances.
Okay.
So
for more potential.
More potential, and then to take some of that weight off of the solution to every problem is just more movement speed. Right.
Does that also mean that you're modifying the mechanics that allow classes to like dash? Because you have classes that are obviously more mobile than others.
어떤 클래스는 더 빠르잖아요.
갭 클로저를 갖고 있는.
그런 거는 뭐 바꾸는 거 있어요?
그쪽에서는 바뀌는 거 없어요. 근데 그거 지금 베이스를 빌드한 거고.
Okay, so he's saying he built the base. He hasn't
다른 것들 다시
touched all that yet. But so I'm, he knows about like the classes that have like the gap closing right now.
네, 그래서 이제는 모든 무기가 디펜스가 있고 모든 무기가 패리가 있어요.
Yeah. So the other thing is, so going in with this, his philosophy here change is that every weapon from now on will have a block or a parry.
네, 그리고 블락은
Every weapon will have a block or a parry.
Yeah.
네, 그리고 블락 리액션이 있을 때도 다시 막을 수 있어요. 인피니트 블락도 가능하고.
Yeah, and so now the other thing is, as long as you, because blocking in our game is because it is target based, or you have to, or it's physics based, right? And so we had that penalty. Is that even if you successfully block, it's tough as it is that you also have a penalty, is where you're kind of stuck in place and you're in this animation. Is that it's gonna blocking is going to be more substantial. It's going to have more advantages. You're not going to be stuck. He's saying like, oh yeah, you could do infinite blocking as long as you could, predict where they're hitting you.
여러 명이 때려도 다 막을 수 있게.
So yeah, one of the things is that he wants to, if this is a success, is that a guy that's really good is even multiple attackers. He could do block, 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 or block, parry, 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 and then.
Okay. So you're trying to reward more mechanical skill, but not necessarily just base it around like being able to run faster than other people. Is kind of the idea.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Glad we got through that. All right. So we identified. Oh wait, hold on. Let me see. I think we already asked this one. Oh, okay. This is about like system design, but I think we kind of already covered this question. This was something that one of the other boys wanted to ask. Okay, Achilles lantern bug. You can put Achilles strike on a lantern and throw the lantern.
지금은 그걸 중요하게 보진 않았는데 밸런스 파트에서 아마 조정할 거예요. 그런 게 문제가 있다면. 이제는 우리 밸런스 팀이 있잖아요.
Okay, yeah. So he's saying, okay,
잘 봐주고 있고.
so he hasn't looked at that directly. There's a balance, actual balance team now.
Paul,
the infamous Paul.
Yeah.
Paul. It's not SDF. Yeah. They get into arguments all the time, so it's not But there is a balance team, so he's gonna make sure that they know about that issue again to make sure that it's addressed for coming out. Yeah.
Okay.
So the Achilles lantern.
Is there any other than like the movement related stuff and like the instant cast stuff? Are we going to see like new skills, perks, abilities, spells?
Yeah.
For any classes?
So
only fighter and
so at the start he wanted to do like an overhaul of the original set of classes, because they're kind of getting a little bit long in the tooth compared to the newer ones that are coming out. So he started that, but right now for this update it starts with the fighter and the barbarian, so they're gonna get a lot more kind of crazy skills.
네, 그리고 시즌 중에는 로브랑 레인저는 업데이트.
And then his plan is during the season he's also gonna add new perks and skills for the rogue and the ranger. So that's the plan for this season.
그 다음이 이제 클레리어 우리죠.
And then after that it's the cleric and the wizard.
Okay.
For season 9.
All right. So we are going to see like a whole bunch of new stuff for, I guess, fighter and barb, and then like toward the end of the season, the other two classes,
rogue and the ranger.
Rogue and ranger.
Yes.
Okay. Any teaser ideas on like a skill or a perk or?
Okay.
영상을 찍어놓은 게 있긴 한데 그게 너무 그 인디벨롭먼트 영상이어서 그냥 말로 해주는 거 같이 지금은 좋을 것 같아요.
Pete is just loving life right now.
페어랜드
you're gonna see FPS view barbarian whirlwind skill.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
It's huge fun. And
wait, is the whole camera gonna spin and everything when you're doing it?
Yeah, I love
It's
it.
FPS view whirlwind. So yeah, take that as you
It's
will.
perfect.
Yeah. There is there's actually some skill involved when you're
It's so fun.
to land the hits on that.
All right.
Stuff like that.
그리고-
Fighter has like fortified ground where he's like, hey,
And
come get it, kind of.
and disarm.
There's a disarm.
There's
Uh,
you're adding a disarm mechanic.
It's in there. I think it's gonna be a nightmare to balance because being on the receiving end of it a couple times already, it's like I was like,
I mean, other than the disarm
Are we
song from
serious?
Bard, but
but there are these kind of big skills that are going in that have big impact.
Barbarian or weapon.
Yeah, barbarians could just start throwing whatever weapon they have on hand.
oh, you're adding
no,
throw.
Oh, yeah, it's called throw weapon.
Okay.
So
Yep. All right.
Yeah, there's
Well,
a couple other.
Sounds like it could get
ones
interesting.
that you're gonna be. Yeah, so it's almost like a MOBA, but not. Yeah,
Not
we don't.
MOBA.
Yeah, but
So just our style.
All right.
it's
Okay. All right. So you also mentioned that Arena is not going to be solo self-found this season. Is there going to be a
Yeah,
gear cap
that's-
then?
Yeah, Epic.
에픽 할 거요?
네.
Epic?
네. 그리고 이제 레귤러 시즌이기 때문에 바뀌지 않아요. 그런 거는.
Yeah, so he's
웬만해서 뭐 시즌 단위로만 바뀔 거예요. 만약에 뭐 바뀌면.
So he's very sorry about changing that in the middle of the season. So so the answer is that it's gonna be no SSF. It's gonna be the gear cap is gonna be at Epic.
Okay.
And there will be no sub boss.
And no mini bosses, but
the
regular mobs, but no mini bosses.
Yes.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what he's saying.
There will be monsters, but no sub boss.
So yeah, the normal, no sub bosses, just the normal monsters.
Okay.
It's free for us, I think.
What do you guys think, Chad, for Arena? Normal mobs okay?
Normal maps?
기본
Lots
sub
of
boss
lots
말고
of
기본
lots of
기본-
W's.
네.
Lots of W's.
Okay.
Okay.
변수로서
Yeah.
서버스는 너무 힘들죠.
Yeah.
특히 토스 할 수 있는 이제 클래스들이 좀 있으니까요.
Okay. And then there was mention of like volcano lava stuff or whatever with the maps.
Yeah. so
What's
there's a
going on
lava.
there?
So I think he sent you like a little,
Oh yeah, there's like a little video
little-
trailer or something that
like
you sent
5
me
seconds.
when the thing started. All right, hold on. Let me cue this up. Oh.
Teaser trailer.
Yeah, teaser trailer.
Hang on. I just want to make sure that I've got it. Like so.
So this is for under the Goblin Caves. If you go deeper down,
Okay.
we want it. So it's more, hey, that kind of
Wait, you said deeper down in
Only got-
Goblin?
yes,
Are we talking like Red Door?
yes.
What? There's a second level to Goblin Cave? All right, hold on. I'm
Yeah.
playing it. I'm playing it right now. Okay, this looks fire. All right, like literal fire. But yeah, that's sick. That looks sick. Here, Chad, I'm gonna turn the volume down, and I'll just put it on replay. So you're adding a second level to Goblin Cave. Are there any like rules that have to be followed to enter it? Is it just a standard red door? Like, how does it work?
Yeah. So again, it's gonna be the first iteration, so it's a work in progress. So right now it's accessible through the red doors. We're looking at things to make it more thematically, fitting. But right now, yeah, it's red doors. it's going to be a kind of a smaller map right now because we wanted to just get it out there with the new monsters. So I think the big thing is that it's the new monsters and there's a new boss, right? And so that's the thing that we want to get people to engage in first, right?
So you guys are adding another map. That's dope, dude. I think people have been asking for a Goblin like level 2 forever. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, so I think, and then this also coincides with a new race too.
Actually, level 3.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So
What?
this is.
You're adding another race?
Oh, so I mean, yeah. So there's a race, and then so the goblins. So I think this also goes in with like the original vision for what SDF wanted was like all the maps are supposed to be 3 layers. So if you go back to, you remember like how we catered with the Forgotten Castle,
Right?
Is the one that's open on all the maps, right? And you have to unlock the other campaigns. Is because our numbers show it, the player engagement shows it, is that the Forgotten Castle is basically our vision for, or the closest to what our vision for like a full campaign is, right? It's three floors. It's supposed to get engagingly harder, and that's the stuff that we're working with. Is I think we haven't succeeded, but that's the stuff that we're kind of starting to tune, is to make it have ever increasing risk, and then having but more greater rewards as you go down. And so the end goal for all the other levels is to become like their version of Forgotten Castle, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you'll also see with this Forgotten Castle, there's a little bit of rework because it's multi-floored, is that we're kind of exploring and trying to make it so it has different amounts of, I guess, tension, like stress, right? And I think our maps are still pretty small, especially with the PvP factored in. Is that okay? So we are experimenting at the top layer. The ruins is going to be, we're trying to pull it out a little bit. There's some technical reasons why it's not like fully fleshed out, but it's going to be a 7x7 size map, and I think that's going to kind of help for people that are coming in and not entering the crucible, the gauntlet right at the get-go, right? And so this also helps gives each floor a separate identity.
Okay. So you're gonna make the map 7x7 like the water map is then.
Yeah. So that's we're gonna see. Internally we did the 7x7, and there's actually been some talk. It's like, oh, maybe this is even 7x7 is too small. Again, there's technical reasons why it's kind of difficult to even get to 7x7, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Are you shrinking? Are you shrinking then the hell level sizes back down to a smaller size, or are you leaving kind of like 4x4 or whatever, 5x5?
It's 5x5 right now. So this also goes in with some other changes that we're putting in right now that we're going. So like SCF promised last this season was the removal of the circle. And so once the circle is removed, we're adding in different ways of trying to control that amount of tension, right? So we're gonna look at different combination of ways to escape, and then giving people enough guidance to get out. At the same time, give them a certain amount of agency.
Mm-hmm.
So what you'll see this time is that there's going to be improvements to the in-game map. So there's going to be more real-time information about the game session on the map.
Okay.
Right. Because we don't have the circle, right? The circle was the one. So again, I'm talking about all the normal modes, so like adventure mode, or we don't even call it adventure anymore. PvE, normal, and high roller. Squire to Riches is its own special mode now. It's like, so that has the circle, right? That's what makes Squire to Riches.
Right.
But we're talking about like the campaigns. Is that now I think he shared like a mock-up.
Yeah, there's like a mock-up of the map. One sec, let me. I just gotta switch to. All right, so there's a map mock-up for you, chat. So you're gonna have like an active key that will be up on the map then,
Yeah.
like just describing like what each like landmark is.
And when it we're trying to make it fully dynamic. It's not going to be fully dynamic at the start of the white.
Okay.
We want to have it have more information that also gives us more leeway to make the, I guess, the POIs, like the extracts and the downs, a little, for us to start playing with the mechanics there. We're not going to get that all in right at the start, but I think you'll see it with some of the current like ways extractions is that we've tweaked them to make it so, hey, there's always a level of kind of, hey, I have agency now to figure out, okay, I can always have a way out if I make the right decisions.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's always a level of risk, right?
Okay. Speaking of that, when it comes to like red stairs, at least like maybe not in normals, but maybe in HR at the very least, will there be like an interaction time on those doorways?
That's why I'm hinting at it, is that so right now we're adding those type of mechanics to the blues first, and so we are a little worried that hey, it makes it so again because the size of the map, we're trying to figure out how far we could stretch it, and we're worried about like how much tension. So the reds is we're gonna see after kind of getting that kind of feedback. So I know what you're talking about, the interaction activation.
When you say with the blues, do you mean like blue portals, or are you talking about like the static blue exits? Because most all of them already have some type of interaction that's required aside from a select few. And that's really like in the static blues that you can take are really only in normal mode anymore. I mean, if you're talking like ruins, you already have the drawbridge. You know what I mean?
But yeah, but the problem there was like it was only limited to the first person. Once it's open for everyone, right? And we think that kind of reduces the amount of tension. And so those are the things that we're working on, is that hey, you have a limited time gate, when it's safe. And then hey, if you miss that opportunity, then you have to partake in that danger again, right?
Like I can understand the idea behind wanting to leave it open for like a certain time window. Like games like Arc Raiders, for instance, with the hatch doors, you see that they're only open for a handful of seconds. So I get the idea behind that, but I think the more important issue on our end of things is seeing that people just play off of the doorways, and then you have guys like rat meta stuff. They'll loot a corpse. They'll run down through a red door like real quick. They'll depot all the gear that they stole off of the body, and then they go to the next level and die on purpose because it doesn't matter, and then they just start over again.
얘기를 해주고 싶으니까 크로우플레이. 그래서 그거는 지금 이제 기어 갭, 그러니까 기어 밸류가, 기어 프라이스가 너무 높아서 그렇게 플레이하는 게 제일 효율적인 플레이인 게 문제인 거예요.
Yeah, so
그거를 다른 시스템으로 다 막으려고 하면, 그러니까 그런 근본을 먼저 고쳐야 되는 거고, 그걸 다른 시스템으로 아티피셜리 다 막는 거는 원하는 건 아니다. 현재는.
And to be fair, it's not that we think that people should just like let us kill them because like we want to, right? It's just that it's when they benefit not just off of the effort of other people, but when they get that benefit for themselves, they then do not have to defend it in any way. They can just leave, right? And if the idea is that there's supposed to be some amount of risk, if there's no timer on the door, then they have no inherent risk. They didn't come in with anything. They loot whatever they wanted to get. If they end up getting lucky, great. And then they just leave. They don't have to defend it at all.
Yeah. So that's something we know that that's why I said there's active internal discussion about that. There's so we look at it as it's also linked to the the value of the items. Like I said, one of the big pushes we're making this time is
포인트가 너무 높은 거가 문제예요. 근데
and
네.
so the other thing is that when this system goes in, right? So the because the circle is removed, right? Is we're actually unifying the game mode or the game rules with the extraction stuff across all the PV adventure, normal, and the high roller. It's gonna all have one set of rules, right? And we're gonna start looking at tweaking that amount of tension with the amount, the location of escapes first, and we wanted to get that first to get a baseline before get the baseline for the risk reward there before we start making assumptions about so we know that the risk reward, like you're saying, that's an issue there with hey, I have very low risk and I have huge returns by doing that kind of behavior and just zoinking out through the down portals. And so that's on the plate, but that's step 2, and we're almost we just need to see what the reaction is with step 1, because again, there's going to be far fewer extraction points when it goes out. And so we're trying to figure out, okay, can we get this a decent baseline here? And then we'll start adjusting the risk reward ratio for the down portals. That also has to do with the amount of down portals. We previously, the way that the original system was designed is that we didn't have fine control. So that was another issue, is you could go into crypts and there would be 5 down portals downstairs.
Right.
And it was just like, oh man, that was one of the side effects of our random
그래서
system.
여기서 해주고 싶은 말은, 그러니까 우리가 레드스테어에 인터랙션 타임을 넣는 건 너무 쉽지만 그렇게 안 하는 이유는 그 크로우 플레이도 다 알고 있고 뭐 그런 것도 이제 그런 부작용 사이드 이펙트가 있는 건 알고 있지만 이게 이제 감옥이 되면 안 되잖아요. 완전히. 그래서
So
조금 더 스킬이 잘 못하는 플레이어들이 도망칠 수 있는 길이 있어야 되는데 우리가 탈출을 너무 쉽게 할 수는 없기 때문에 어떻게 보면 리스크를 감수하는 방향으로 좀 아래로 내려가더라도 도망칠 수 있게 만들어주고 싶었던 건데 이제 밑에 내려갔을 때 리스크가 없는 게 문제인 거죠.
So the last thing, so what the point he wants to SCF wants to make is that, hey, because we don't want to err into other go too far, as like if we make all the down portals too risky or too risky, because we're already right now the big thing we're pushing for is to make escapes riskier, right? That's what's going to happen with this new set of rules. That's what we're pushing for. Is that if it makes that gets more risky along with the escape. We don't want to accidentally go too far. It's like, oh, now you're just in a jail. You're just in this small jail, like 5x5, where you're in with like these serial killers, right? So we want to go step by step, and kind of fine tune that.
Yeah, there's still a chance.
So you say we know about that. Let us do this big knob first, because I think extraction is that's the name of the genre, right? And we want to kind of get that into. Right now the range is too big, right? It's like, is this way too loose, or there's this, hey, there's zero chance of escape, and we want to make it kind of, hey, this is that range. If this is a good range, now let's look at the other alternative ways.
Okay. All right.
Of bypassing.
I'm gonna say for the record, I kind of disagree with the idea, but I mean, it's like it's your game to make, man. It's like you guys are doing your thing. Okay. Somebody in chat had something. There was a good idea. Oh, chat's asking about Bard. If there's any more stuff going to be added to Bard.
Bard.
Nothing.
So he
Nothing
says there's nothing.
Nothing at the moment. All right.
Sorry.
Nothing at the moment. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Just for fighter.
Gathering
so
Hall.
Just fighter and barbarian.
Gathering Hall.
So the Gathering Hall right now is. So it was supposed to come out last season, and then our goal was to get it out this season. It's not going to come out with the live our goal is right now. So, what?
There also has a huge technical depth with the backend.
So it's basically we, when we're building up the game really fast, is that we leverage a lot of Amazon services, right? So there's a specific thing called
super expensive.
Yeah, it's 이름이 뭐죠?
Game lift.
Yeah, game lift, right? So game lift. So it's the reason we're able to do matchmaking and distribute the load very quickly and easily, right? But the thing is, like, we're just super heavily integrated into that, and so
그래서 이제 멀티 클라우드로 가서 우리 코스트도 좀 줄이고 하기 위해서 그 테크니컬 뎁트를 해결하는 시간 그걸 해야 이제 게더링홀을 만들 수 있기 때문에 같이 하고 있어서 조금 더 걸리고 있어요.
So we're trying to kill two birds with one stone with the gathering hall. Is to kind of, the gathering hall is our excuse for building a new backend that doesn't involve game lift at all, right? So we're building our own, load leveraging, load scaling, and then being able to go to multi-cloud, using different cloud providers, because Amazon game lift is really expensive.
Okay.
So, that was the backside motivation, but because of this is pulling off that one-on-one is, we're hitting little technical challenges, right? So the goal right now is to get that on the test server in February. So that's our internal goal right now, to get it out.
Okay.
At least you could test it, because we do foresee, like, hey,
변경될 수 있어요.
yeah, but he's saying that could change as it goes on.
Okay.
그래서 게더링홀은 잘 만들고 싶어서 조금 더 하고 있으니까 좀 미안하지만.
Yeah, so he wants to make the gathering hall worthwhile, right? It's like, just not just throw it out there. So yeah, there's that technical hurdle, and then to make sure that when it is out there, is like, oh, okay, does this hint and show enough of the potential for the gathering hall, right?
Okay.
So he wants it to be a very, like, a community, and also a way for people to start, like, expressing themselves, with decorations and stuff.
Okay. At one point in time, you guys also mentioned that you were working on, like, a skill tree kind of thing for, like, a fishing system, or in, like, mining and, like, that kind of stuff. Is that in or no?
It's not in EAS8, or it's not in at the start of EAS8. Yeah. So
okay. I'm just gonna go down this thing like rapid fire.
It's in the works. It's in the works.
Okay.
I only want fishing.
Monk.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So not yet.
Any new wizard spells on patch release?
Wizard?
Nothing.
So yeah.
Any new high loot points of interest on the maps?
Yes.
I mean, other than the addition, are there going to be, like, new module, like, loot POIs on the existing maps?
Yes, but we'll keep that a secret.
Okay.
So.
First level Frost Mountain, will that be ever getting a boss?
Not soon.
Okay.
But it's on.
Is there a boss in the Goblin, like, hell level?
Hell level.
Yeah, the second level of Goblin Caves. Is that going to get a boss?
Yes. There's a big boss.
Big boss. Okay. Do you want to share what the big boss is, or do you want us to find out?
What do you know?
The Fire Colossus.
Yeah, it's called the Fire Colossus.
Okay. So is it like a giant fire golem, lava golem, or is it something different?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. My man Glocktain did videos testing, like, hundreds and hundreds of iterations of hitting a treasure pile in luck, and kind of made the determination that luck wasn't doing like shit. So is luck getting looked at?
Not right now. So I was sent that. So yeah, this, we have to ask, hey, what's going on? Why did it? Because all the formulas and stuff are set properly. So, but right now everyone's overloaded with, all the stuff getting ready for EAS8. Get that out there, and then we could do a little bit more investigating into what went wrong with the luck formula, why it's not working. And maybe this is a good point for us to be like, okay, maybe the previous luck system, maybe we could rework it, make it more engaging.
So what's the expectation then for luck? Like what do you guys expect luck to do?
Oh, what it's supposed to be doing is that there's a different so every
like there's a bell curve, right? Like a certain number of tables and it rolls and like all of that, right? Is the idea to like take the shittier items off the table when you have more luck so that you get better shit, or like if somebody has 400 luck, like are they supposed to be like 10% more likely to get a legendary? Like how is it supposed to work?
No, so what it's supposed to do, it doesn't take the bad items off the table. Is what it does is as your luck goes up, is each grade has its own rate, of getting that item or getting that grade of item when it's first opened, right? Mm-hmm. And so you have the 7 grades. And what luck does is that it adds based on your luck, attribute, it adds a multiplier to each grade, right?
Okay.
And as the luck goes up, like lower grades, it adds like a negative multiplier. So the original rate starts to kind of start getting lower, right? So if it was like a 10% chance of like getting a common item, but then you have 400 luck and it's supposed to add like a 0.5 modifier. So that 10% becomes like 5%, right?
Okay.
It's not exactly like because it's
that's a concept.
Yeah, but so as you go up on the luck table, the modifiers actually get bigger at the very upper end. So it's like a 4x or 3x or 2.5x for like epic, and so we got to go see why that's not being applied.
Okay, all right, yeah, because it looks like it's not really changing much of anything, if at all.
There should be some.
Yeah, so it's got to be a bug then.
Yeah.
Okay. So with sorcerer's time distortion getting removed, so that there's no more instant cast, does wizard still get their instant cast skill?
So he's saying it's not removed; it's getting changed.
It's getting changed.
인스타 캐스팅이 없어.
So there's no instant casting.
캐스팅 스피드가 빨라지고.
And the casting speed got improved.
좀 바뀐 거니까 그냥.
So it's still that concept, but the details of it are changed.
Okay. So does wizard get their instant cast perk then? Like their ability, their skill? Still?
Oh, so can you repeat that question?
Does wizard still get their instant cast ability?
Because that's a limited skill.
Oh, okay, so he's saying because that's a limited skill. Yeah, so that's reasonable. He's saying that's reasonable. So his philosophy change right now is like he's trying to start to remove those stuff that makes the opposing player feel like, oh, this is horrible or this sucks, right? Trying to remove that kind of on the other end.
조금 포기하고.
But because of that, like the fantasy element and the kind of the power fantasy, he knows that he has to kind of start pushing that down a little. But to make when you're on the receiving end, you don't feel as bad, right? So it's like, oh, this is unreasonable, right? That's the word he was using.
Okay, so to rebalance sorcerer, then are they getting just like a general like spell haste buff from something like TD? Is that how it's working? Or is knowledge going to be like a stat that like matters more now?
눈으로 봐야 돼요. 너무 많이 바뀌어서.
He's saying there's so many things that are changed about that you just have to go in and see.
그래서 캐스팅하고 머지 그다음에 이제 그 밀리 수소로 있잖아요. 이 세 가지 빌드가 잘 살아나게 하는 거.
So his goal here is to have like the 3 different types of builds of the sorcerer still be viable, right? But he's saying there's the details are changed so much that you kind of have to go in and see it.
Okay.
So he's saying look at the patch note. I'm in the same boat as you, so I have no idea what's going on the.
Are there any adjustments that are being made to true damage?
true damage를 뭐 바꾸는 거 있어요?
이제 랜덤 모디파이어에서 트루 데미지는 없어져요.
So he says true damage is fully removed from all the random modifiers.
그리고 맥스 헬스,
And
Okay.
also,
스피드 다 없어요.
and then he's also removing additional
And
move
there will
speed
be no
and
more-
max health.
All
From-
attributes, there will be no all attributes. 벌써.
And he's also removing all attributes from
근데
the
이런
random.
것들은
No
다 이제
all attributes
modifiers.
anymore.
근데 스태틱 모디파이어에는 좀
We're making
붙일 수
moves.
있어요.
Okay.
Okay.
정말요?
네.
Okay. Oh, so he.
Wait, what else?
But there's gonna be some changes to the primary or the
화이트
primary stats. You know, the white color stats.
거기에
Those
조금
items,
생길 수 있지만
to offset
네.
some
근데
of
이제
these
훨씬
changes.
더그
Okay.
컨트롤러블한 밸런스.
Yeah, so he's trying to kind of reduce the range of that randomness, I think,
Okay.
in terms of the Okay.
Okay. All right. So it sounds like there's going to be like a big shift with this next
Super.
patch. Like it's going to
So,
be very
yeah, I
mechanically
think,
different.
You know, it's going to be mechanically different. I think, you know, from listening, like even, you know, is like there's going to be drastic balance changes, right? And you know, I knew like beforehand, before it's like, oh, he's trying to get away from the movement meta, right? So that was like the big, you know, little thorn is that he's like, oh, I really dislike having the movement meta in the game because it makes it hard to get into a little, you know, makes it unintuitive. But we want it still to be a game of positioning, and so there's going to be dramatic changes to the balancing. What I was doing with, you know, my team was just focusing more on like the POIs, the maps, trying to get the adventure when you're in the dungeon. Start working on kind of making that feel like more of an adventure, giving, you know, making more POIs, kind of doing that kind of balancing. And then what we merge together is that we're trying to balance the economy together. Is like, oh, our end goal is to make it so you start investing time, is that the bottom back end, you know, starts rising up. So hey, you know, if I put in the 10, you know, or 100 hours, it's like, hey, now at least I have the safety net of like having like, you know, a good set of uncommon or rare items because I put in the time. And then, you know, the other people that are coming up, support those people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Is there going to be?
of,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So there's a lot of changes that are hard to because it's just like line item, and it's like one by one. You know, it's like these are things that all interact together to make the game supposedly feel better balanced, right? And again, our overall philosophy here was like, hey, make the game more intuitive, make the game that if put in the time, you make progress, and then when you do suffer setbacks, it's not as harsh. That's basically the key words for season 8. So it's not really like, oh, there's these big features, but it's kind of like, you know, the elephant in the room was like Arc Raiders came out, did outstanding, and I think we looked at it and we were saying how we have a lot to learn from that. And it's like, oh, what are the things that they're doing really well there? And it's like, okay, let's try to see like what are the ways that we can apply some of that stuff to our game without losing our identity.
Okay, so just to like kind of recap, the idea is that you're removing move speed modifiers from random rolls on gear, right? But you're also trying to, I guess, make the movement meta not so much a thing by giving players a little bit more mobility, like in general, so that they can be more mechanically sound when they're fighting toe to toe. So there's not going to be as much jump spam, and there's not going to be as much like movement speed stuff, because the idea is to incentivize fights and then reward people for their own skill. That's the idea.
Yes.
Okay.
But then on top of that, so that's the idea. But on top of that, our now the super challenge is, but still make gear worthwhile, right? Up to a certain point.
Right, because the moment that you start taking away
So-
random rolls that were like the most sought after things, that's going to devalue what it is that people are looting. And that's the stuff that like
Yes.
people wanted true
So I
damage
think
plus
that-
all and movement speed. Like those are the three biggest like things. Well, and plus health, I guess. But even then that's changing, right? So
Yeah. So,
듀러빌티를 챙기기를 좀 어려워졌으니까 그래서 그거는 없어지니까 헤드샷 데미지 레이셔는 150%로 내려왔어요.
yeah. So
HP 많이 챙길 수
like
있으니까.
yeah, one of the other things he's saying is that the headshot multiplier is going to be reduced to 1.5 again.
headshot multiplier is going back to
because of these-
1.5x.
Yeah.
왜냐면 HP를 많이 챙길 수 없으니까.
Yeah, because it's going to be more difficult to get durability with with extra health and stuff, max health.
Okay. Because like people have less HP, so the crit doesn't need to be as high, I guess. Okay, let me see. So is there going to be like a general rebalancing of the damage system then in general? Like are you trying to keep the time to kill like roughly the same?
TTK는
지금은 TTK는 그러니까 우리가 데미지는 바꾼 게 없기 때문에 그러니까 듀러빌티가 내려갔으니까 근데 이제 전체 아이템 파워도 조금 내려간 거잖아요. 트루 데미지 이런 것들이 없어졌으니까 그래서 뭐 크게 차이 못 느낄 수도 있지만 지금 조금 빠르다고 느낄 수도 있어요. 근데 봐야 돼요. 아마 느릴 수도 있어요. 오히려 반대로.
Yeah, so he's saying that
이건 정확하게 보기가 좀 힘들었어요.
it's because it's so because durability went down overall, right? But at the same time,
파워도 줄었고.
the damage didn't change. But at the
Okay.
same time, like the true damage, all those kind of super spiky kind of
네, 그래서 빌드에 따라서 좀 다를 거예요. 그리고
yeah.
우리가 아이템 전체 그 프라이머리 그 프리미티브 그 어트리뷰트를 계속 시프팅했잖아요.
Yeah, so the
Right.
primitive stats of the items were shifted too. So I think the overall power level is a little different, right? So it's like in our game live right on the live server right now, it's like the TTK differs from like if you're all in blues, if you're in the upper end and
Right.
you have like yeah, and so where is it's going to be more normalized. I think that's the thing you could say is that maybe at the very at the lowest end is that the TTK goes up slightly, but at the upper end it the time to kill it becomes longer, right?
Right. So if you remove true damage from random rolls, so does that mean like stuff like Frost Amulet still has its true damage on it? Like
그런 건 프리미티브 있는 거는 있을 거죠.
크로스 아뮬렛은 이제
like Frost Amulet, yeah.
것 같아요. 오래돼가지고.
Are the base stats
Yeah,
on those still
기억이
true?
안 돼.
But he doesn't recall exactly.
Yeah,
So there was items that were
크로스 아뮬렛이랑 피닉스 초퍼가 only one 옵션 되는 거는 우리가 원하는 건 아니에요.
Yeah,
그게
so-
아무래도 되는 거 원하는 거 아니어서.
he didn't want it.
Yeah.
Some build always went with Frost, Phoenix Joker.
Yeah, I mean, like,
think
that's
he
always
said
been the go-to.
they
그거 이제 트루 데미지 아닐 거예요, 제 기억에. 에디셔널 했던 것 같아요. 에디셔널 데미지로 바꿨을 거예요.
yeah. So he
한달 돼서
thinks
기억이 나.
that true damage is removed from those items. It's probably additional damage right now. But again, he said that was being done like a month ago, so it's hard for him to know the recall exactly.
People have been asking about like tumble for rogues. I mean, because that still is obviously going to provide mobility, but
There's no
no adjustment to tumble for rogues.
Yeah, he said there's no adjustments.
yet.
Not yet, he said. So
Okay. Oh yeah, there was also mention of like you guys modifying the mob density in Nightmare, in High Roller of the Nightmare mobs.
그건 아무 누가
You had mentioned something about that
yeah,
already.
거긴 바뀐 게 없을 텐데.
Yeah, so I guess it matters this, where specifically. So like we said, high roller ruins is going to feel a lot more spaced out because we put in these points modules that are specifically for lulls and stuff. So if it'll feel like, oh, okay, there's less density, but it's not like we went in and pulled out each individual monsters right now.
Yeah, I think it was just more along the lines of like when you ended up in a fight with some other guy, team v team, if you end up in a populated module, one team inevitably gets swarmed and it ends up kind of detracting from the fight that you're trying to have. And it slows down. It makes progression in HR really slow in some of those modules because of how many mobs are in them.
Yes. So I think that's another tool we have. This we're going to kind of look at, me with the level team is throughout season 8 is, hey, we could do a little bit more fine tuning for the levels. If we make a module and it's balanced for one party size, like trios, and then if you go in with a solo, you're gonna feel completely overwhelmed, right? And so I think we have to do like a huge pass going through and like really rebalancing what we know now. A lot of these modules were made, like the older maps were made 2-3 years ago, right? And haven't really been properly rebalanced at all or even looked at. So but there's not like a big, hey, that's what we focused on right now. We had bigger fish to fry first. So
okay. Are there going to be any other modifications to Warlock or any additions to Warlock other than what you changed with TM?
Nothing.
Okay, nothing.
Okay. TM change.
Yeah,
that's it. Okay.
We're just supposed to
can you ask about if Arena is going to be 3-stack? Meaning like people having like their own 3-man teams.
그거를 어떻게 할 건지.
그래서 그 솔로 트래시홀드를 좀 높일 거예요. 네.
Okay, so he's saying he's going to raise the limitation, the MMR limit where you have to go solo. He's going to raise that. He thinks that the issue was that it was too low, and so people were hitting it too early.
근데 이제 이게 만약에 별로 플레이어들이 재밌어하지 않으면 아마 그 솔로 트래시홀드는 없앨 수도 있고요.
But he says that
이제 레귤러 시즌 보고
look at the how it goes during the next season. And
이거는 시즌 단위로 바뀔 거니까요.
Yeah, and he's looking to if the feedback is not good, is that the subsequent arena season, then he'll consider removing that completely.
Okay. Arena rewards for like rank stuff.
Arena, yeah. So that'll be announced. I think in March we're gonna show the yeah. Okay. So it's gonna be the same. It's gonna go out with the adventure rank when we release those rewards, and so you work at this season, so you can get that whatever you want to show off for the next season.
Okay. People making arena custom lobbies, if they wanted to do that themselves. Are you doing that like with the your own, I don't know, the guild hall thing?
Again, this is tied in with the gathering hall, because going back to killing 2 birds with 1 stone was that if once we get the gathering hall up and running, is that gives us that opportunity now to allow people to run custom instances of the dedicated server. Dungeon, like arena dungeons or tournament things, but it's all dependent right now on getting over that technical hurdle right now for the gathering hall first.
Okay. Will there be another like grindy boss for like a rare drop to get a rare item like there was this past season with Stingray?
그러니까
The Stingray? No.
그건 너무 낮았죠.
Yeah.
근데 중간 이제 그런 변화는 중간에 시즌 중간에 되도록이면 안 하고
Wait.
싶었기 때문에.
Can I ask you, was I the first person to get the torch? Do you guys know?
그
Or did somebody beat me to it?
있잖아요. 사람이
I'm wasting time,
원팩인지.
Chad.
I don't know.
Don't know.
We
That's
don't know.
fine.
We can
Don't worry
ask.
about it. I was just curious.
But,
Like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Chad's gonna get pissed because I'm asking you questions that they don't give a shit about.
just ask us later on. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
제가 말하고 싶은 건
Yeah.
그건
No,
아니에요.
yeah.
Can
So
you
he's
ask
saying
about
is that,
U.S. Central server?
yeah. U.S. Central server. So
조금 고민이 있지만
yeah, he has thoughts about that. I think right now it's the player numbers. Yes, again, I don't know if we could support that right now.
Okay.
Again, it's linked in with like Amazon because we use Amazon for everything right now. Is that it's more of a situation of, okay, do we have the player base to support that? Does it make sense for us that in that regard?
Okay. All right. So no custom stuff for now.
Not until Gathering Hall. So yeah.
Okay.
So anytime you see us, when we did the Dungeon Rivals last time, is like basically what we do is we make an entire full stack of our entire system just for that. Is just to run that one server or one instance, right? And so we know that's we got to move away from that. That's all that research and development that's going into Gathering Hall. Once we get that completed, then now it opens up a whole bunch of opportunities for it.
Okay.
Even on the live.
Any changes to gold storage, or are you keeping gold storage the same?
Yeah, cool.
Gold storage.
We're gonna make it. So the other thing is, we're looking at making, the how cumbersome like gold is right now. Is not. We're looking at ways to make that less cumbersome, right? So giving you ways to expand your inventory quicker, giving more ways to store it. And then one of the things on the topic is, okay, how do should we make it so you can store more per slot, per bag?
Mm-hmm.
So that's something in discussion right now, but right now we haven't made an actual decision specifically on the amount of gold. Yeah,
because there always ends up being a placeholder item. Right, it was keys, and then it was, I don't know, unique emeralds or something, and then it was now it's death blooms. So it shifts.
There's gonna be, and we're also kind of leaning into that for this season. Is like we're gonna have those different kind of POIs is that have kind of mid-value POI items, drop areas, and items that actually have like have that actual value if you wanted to convert it into gold directly. So we're making some of the instead of like that, the death blooms, it's like there's going to be specific items that you can actually trade in to the merchant for tens of thousands of gold. Yeah.
Okay. And then so people are asking if the egg torch skin will be in the store this season or next season or whatever.
그 스토리가 이제 이번에 스토어에 나올 건데.
이번 시즌 안 나오죠. 다음 시즌에 나오죠.
Yeah, it's gonna go out next season. Yeah.
So not season 8, season 9.
He wants to make it.
Okay.
Yeah, season 9.
One season removed.
Because specifically this time it was so difficult that the people that went through all that trouble, we were like, okay, we'll give you guys that that little bit of extra exclusivity time, to kind of. Hey, I was one of those people that went through that pain and suffering to get that. Yeah.
그래서 우리는 그거는 이제 다음엔 좀 그렇게는 안 할 거다.
Yeah, and so the thing is, in the future, we're gonna we don't want to do.
되게 미안하게 생각하고 있어요.
Yeah.
근데 이제 그걸 그라인딩한 사람들을 또 디스포인트
Yeah,
시킬 수
so we didn't want to
없어서.
disappoint the people that grinded this season to get that, right? So that's why we're giving extending the exclusivity time.
Right.
But in the future, we're gonna move away from making, you know, those kind of rewards that require that heavy amount of, you know, RNG and grinding.
Guys in chat keep spamming ask about artifact drop rates, but you're not saying what you want to know about artifact drop rates.
Oh, so again, things are gonna be a little different with the way that we're kind of making it so you could target POIs and stuff. And with that, for POIs to really be POIs is that the risk to reward ratio has to match. And I think with a lot of what we're trying to do is make some of the risky stuff more risky. So that also in turn means that the reward should be better, right? So I'll leave it at that.
So can you nerf the artifact drop rates and make them more rare just to trigger people? I think they would really enjoy that.
Can we nerf that?
Yeah, because they're asking for them to be increased. So I think it would make sense to just make them worse, right? Right, chat?
So you guys want that? All right.
Don't fucking ask that. See, they're getting mad already.
I think that was one of the issues with this last season is we reduced that rate and made it so even the people that were trying to farm the artifacts, they gave up and they're like, okay, I'm just gonna farm other people that bring in good items, right? And so I think there was, you know, a negative feedback loop that happened with that. So again,
뭐 여기 좋은 채팅인데 럭 고치면 나한테 메시지 나올
oh
거야.
yeah, dude. Once we fix luck too with the better artifact rates is I think, you know, now luck will be even better, right? So
the lack of an MMR system and how the highest level players are matched up against fresh players, which is a huge killer of the player base. They have game modes designed for fresh players. What do you need MMR brackets for?
Yeah.
But didn't we had those at one point? Didn't we have? Well, we had gear score brackets.
Okay. So we also did MMR brackets in normal a long time ago. Like we joke about that. We've gone through pretty much every single type of matchmaking system in the back end. Again, you know,
matchmaking tool 1000개 있고 싶으면은 할 수 있죠.
Yeah. So the side effect of trying to split all these matching pools is that it just makes more matching queues, right? And so our philosophy right now is like, okay, let's try to just keep it at a limited amount that's still pretty big, right? For I think our current population base, but at the same time, it gives, you know, freedom. When we try to reduce it too much and take away the freedom, like this early this season, where High Roller was just a random dungeon. I think that the loss of agency there had a bigger negative effect than, you know, the amount of supporting the larger amount of matching queues. So
okay, and then so then I guess finally, because we're getting up here in like 2 hours now. There's you guys are doing Twitch drops things starting on the 30th, right?
Yeah,
so 30th to the 12th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So we're going from
so
the 30th to the 12th, and then, but you guys are
2 weeks.
It's a little different this time around, right?
Yes. So the SSF period before, generally we've been doing the first 2 weeks. We close off the marketplace, right? Is that, hey, you know, we've seen those responses like, okay, I'm done. Hey, that was a awesome season for the first 2 weeks. See you next season, kind of. So we're curious. So this season we're actually extending that so another week. So we're going to do the 3 weeks of SSF to see.
Self-found is 3 weeks this time.
We're not, so the no marketplace, no trading post for the first 3 weeks.
Okay.
We need to check.
Yeah. And we want to see like, oh, okay. We do see like, you know, a fall off after the second week, and we're we want to see, hey, is this really due to people leaving because of the SSF mode disappearing? If we see like, hey, this fall off happens at the third week, it's like, oh, okay, there's definitely a direct correlation now with SSF event and people leaving, right? So that's why we're extending it. On top of this is that around that time is we're planning for the first kind of big feature that's going in this swipe is we're going to put in like our version of the hideout, kind of the work. It's going to be the workshops.
Yeah, I was going to ask because
So,
there was a workshop tab in the one image that you shared.
Yeah. So it's basically
here?
is-
아직 안 보였지만.
Oh, you have an image of it
wait,
too?
so
여기.
yeah, so
Workshop?
the workshops it's supposed to come out. We're trying to complete it in time for when the marketplace opens because we think that it integrates with that.
Well, yeah.
So you could
Did you
get-
have it? Did you have an image that you were sending me of it? Did you want me to share it? I haven't
No.
seen it. You don't. I mean, you don't have to. I just didn't know
Yeah.
if you had one that you wanted to send.
The current in-game screenshot just says coming soon, and
Okay.
people are gonna rag on us for whatever that means. But coming soon this time really does mean coming soon. So
Okay. So there's gonna be like a hideout like feature kind of thing.
no, so it's just more workshop. It's basically I guess it's closer in kin to what you saw in Art Graders, I guess.
Okay.
With the workbenches and stuff.
Yep. Yep.
It was something like, we wanted to do hideouts long time ago. And so it's just, hey, this time, just internally, the way like the resources kind of, the programming resources kind of came out was like, oh, hey, we have resources here that we could work on this. But it was, again, it's a kind of substantial feature. So the original goal was supposed to be EASA. It's going to come out, a couple weeks later.
Any changes to Faustian Bargain?
Yeah, so there's new monsters.
It's
Yeah, and new balance. Like we kind of overtuned it in terms of like the quest and the how much participation you had to do to get the quest. So there's little balancing changes. Again, the eventual goal is to make this be kind of its own little game mode. But right now it's just adding on to it. So there's more monsters. Yeah, a little bit more variety.
Will Faustian be turned on in HR again?
Not yet. But
Not
Not
yet.
yet.
So the eventual goal is to get to a point where, when it gets to it's like its own kind of game mode. It's like, hey, now high roller is even more high tension, high stakes because the monsters from the beginning are people that are going to be the expert monster players, right?
like
Okay.
like a murder.
Yeah, like the the inspiration here is again like a little bit from Dead by Daylight, right? So
Right. Okay.
it's like you have the guys that are really good at playing the murderers, right?
I mean, it's fun. It's been good for a couple like
So
silly
right now,
moments.
yeah,
네, 근데 그것만 플레이하는 유튜버들이 조금 있어서 되게 재밌게 보고 있어요.
yeah. So, but the eventual goal he's saying is that there's some streamers already that are just that all they do is they just play for Faustian Bargain. So it's like, hey, okay, flesh that out eventually, but not now. Yeah.
Okay. Any changes with gems or gemming, or is that system the same?
Yeah. Socketing will be expanded. I think not being able to do the primitive or the primary stats on socketing this past season really hurt. So it's like it's the rich get richer kind of thing. Again, the philosophy for this upcoming season is the exact opposite. Is like, hey, let's help the people that are trying to come up. Have a bigger middle class kind of. And so we're gonna make multiple ways to kind of close that gap, right? If you put in the time, if you put in the work, you get lucky. So that's the gem system, the socketing system, the crafting system is being reworked a little bit, and then the workshop system. So the workshop are ways that you could kind of convert your trash into better items.
Okay. That's kind of cool. People are asking about making the trade window bigger, like a bigger inventory to be able to trade items at once.
Trading post is
like the grid, the inventory grid for trading.
He's like, no.
No. I mean, the smaller size, the smaller
yeah.
size has more transaction cost, I guess, when you're doing that. But people are asking, like, is there going to be a new artifact on the lava boss, the golem boss, in the
new artifact?
new artifact?
Yeah, not this time.
근데 그 도쿄 게임 플레이어들한테 리퀘스트 받은 것들도 있고,
네.
그다음에 우리가
컨테스트
컨테스트에서
yeah.
우승한 것도 있었고, 아티팩트는 앞으로 좀
Yeah, so
집중해서 여러 개
he's not
만들
gonna.
거예요.
He didn't make any new artifact this season, but because we had that the contest to design the artifact, we had to put that.
Oh,
in.
right.
And then we also
리퀘스트.
had some direct requests when he went to the Tokyo Game Show from the hardcore players there. It's like, oh, got some ideas from there. So not this season, but he has thoughts for continuing adding in the next batch of artifacts.
Okay. All right. We're getting down to the end, boys. We're getting down to the end. Some of your questions just aren't going to get asked. I'm sorry. All right. I know y'all are spamming like crazy. And no change. Is there any changes to Rogue at the start of the wipe? The next season?
Rogue 바꾸는 거 있어요?
로그는 없어요. 로그는.
He said no changes to the Rogue.
그리고 뭐 그 사람들이 질문 많이 하고 있어요. druid은 이제 슈퍼 점프는 안 될 거고요.
So he said there's no super jumping with the druid now.
그거 안 될 거고. 그다음에 근데 이 얘기는 해주고 싶어요. 그러니까 사람들이 리퀘스트가 되게 많으니까 그 인벤토리 소트랑 서치는 어떻게 좀 해주고 싶다 이런 마음이.
Yeah. So okay, he said he was looking at the chat, and so he saw that people have a lot of requests for inventory sort and
auto sort button.
스트림에서
and he went on and he went on Yami's stream. He's like he promised that, and he wants. So the reason it didn't come out again, it's so dependent on the inventory system.
근데 그것도 우리가 좀 어글리하게 만들면 얼마나
So the thing is, he hates doing these kind of hacking ways to put in features, but we're already done it this time with the quiver that's going in. It's very not elegant. So he's like,
just 2 hours work.
Okay.
I really don't like that.
He hates doing that. The spaghetti code
and
and hard coding and all that. But he's like,
근데 플레이어들이 원하는 게 더 중요하니까 이제 원하는 게 빨리 해주자 이런 생각이 좀.
Now he's changing that mentality. It's like, oh, it's more important to just get it out there for you, even though it's ugly for me. So he's like, okay, that's why it wasn't going in. So he's saying he has a change of mind, change of heart, just hard bashing in the auto sort.
Oh, and then there was an inventory bug where you could like swing your weapon while you were in your inventory.
Yeah, inventory 버그 있는데 인벤토리 보고 있는데 이거를
공격이 되는. 그 문제는 알고 있었고, 근데 지금 그게 되게 랜덤하게 나오고 있어서 정확한 그걸 몰라요.
Okay, so they know about that bug.
이번 시즌 초부터 알고 있었는데.
So yeah, he said he knew about it from the start. But the problem is that it occurs so. They don't know how to recreate that bug right now.
그러니까 계속 발생하는데 그 정확한 컨디션을 모르.
So chat, if any of you guys know how to recreate that bug, just saying.
Maybe 알고 있을 거예요. 그래서 조금 알려주면 최선을 다해서 수정해. 그거 엄청 불편하거든요.
Yeah, so he says he knows how frustrating that is.
제 크로스보우 그냥 나가버리고.
Game population has been consistently decreasing. What's the plan? Oh, clearly they want it to continue to go down, man. That's why they work so hard.
Right.
뭐,
Yeah. So
네, 뭐,
yeah. So the plan right now is this season is just fix the economy, stupid, right? So
Right.
for EAS8, so so what we saw is that the player numbers do go down, as the season progresses. But what we're interested in is the slope, how it
angle,
decreases, and then what the minimum base it sustains at, right? Because I think that's a better indicator for us is like, oh, okay, that the health of the system and so for us is that okay, that the last season, not having proper smoothing and then not being able to progress properly and having those big gaps between the haves and the have-nots was a really big issue for us. But at the same time, when we looked at the overall slope and the remaining bandwidth, was that it actually, with all things considered, with how bad those systems were balanced right now, is that it was better than expected, right? So the thing is, this season is to actually fix that and then to reduce the grade of that slope, the downward slope, before we start throwing in money to actually do a lot of marketing. So the thinking behind here is that even with the situation as it is right now, is that we are still with almost zero active marketing push right now, is that organically we're still getting thousands of players coming in every day, right? And so what we're seeing is that, but because of these kind of fundamental, economic issues, is they'll go and they'll bounce off, right? Because they can't get over that first hump. And so that's why this time we focused on getting that gating done properly. Like you're saying, it's like, okay, we don't have an actual MMR system with the matchmaking right now, is that, but then we do have ways, we have modes, right? The problem is getting that information, educating people of, oh, okay, stay in this mode until you get comfortable, and then you could start gradually going into the modes that you should be at that comfort level of going into. So that's part of thinking behind the big kind of presentation changes this upcoming wipe. Once we stabilize that, if we see that, hey, okay, the grade feels better, there's a decent bandwidth here, then we'll start throwing in money. The way for us, we look at it is like, it doesn't do us a lot of good when we have a decent baseline to throw in money where we have this big hole in the bucket. We're losing new players this quickly.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, I suppose we'll check out the new patch when it comes out, and I think we're all looking forward to it. It's there's some cool stuff wrapped in here. It's gonna be trying out like a lot of this this mechanical shift is gonna be interesting. So
it's gonna be interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you guys got any like closing thoughts that you want to share with everybody?
그냥 너무 늦게 원하는 것들 해줘서 미안하다고 얘기하고 싶어요.
Yeah, so he's saying he's really sorry that it took him so long to come to realize, to get you guys what you actually wanted so late.
All right. Well, thank you guys for taking the time. It's been a solid couple of hours. I appreciate you guys taking the time to respond to all the questions that everybody had. And I guess we'll see you for the patch, and hopefully things go off pretty well.
Yeah. So Onepeg, thanks as always for giving us this opportunity to
sure,
reach out
Anytime.
directly to the community. I know there was a long instance of a long time of radio silence this time, is because the situation was pretty dire, and for us it's like, okay, we wanted to put our heads down and then just kind of start fixing the actual fundamental cracks. So, and like I said, like what we talked about, there's a lot of stuff that had to be addressed, right? So it's going to be a little shocking, but at the same time, I think people that have played Dark and Darker for a long time is like it still should be Dark and Darker, but now with that the beginnings of polishing. Yeah.
Okay.
We had a lot of Lego blocks, and we just kind of threw it out there. Do what you want. Now we're saying, oh, okay, here's the Lego. We package it, and here's a little instruction manual. That's the difference.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we're all looking forward to it, man. So hopefully everything goes well.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. We'll see you soon. All right. All right.
Okay.
See you.
In a couple days. Bye.
Yeah, a couple days.